Bart Nollenberger is a driven and passionate motivational speaker, sales trainer, and executive coach with extensive experience in the auto industry. He's a John Maxwell executive director, and he's a master of maximizing growth potential. Man, I'm so glad to have you on the show today, Bart.
Curtis, you the man, buddy. It's so nice to be able to spend some time with you. Every time that we do it, I'm a better person. So I appreciate you, my friend, very much.
That's a heck of a compliment. I've got a few questions for you. I know we don't have a whole lot of time here. You're booked pretty solid all over the country, speaking at different events and doing the masterminds and stuff. But tell me a bit about your journey and how you got into motivational speaking and leadership coaching.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting piece. And you're right. We don't have enough time for all of that. My journey is one of I have a master's in stupidity and a doctorate in dumb. And I played that really well in my younger years. 28 years old, I went into a rehab for drugs and alcohol abuse. Got After 30 days, I walked out of it and graduated. And I will tell you that was the game changer. From then, I never drank or used again, and it started me on a journey of, frankly, self-discovery. I followed people like Wayne Dyer and Tony Robbins and anybody of the time, and it just shows how much time Tony Robbins has, how long he's been around, right? That we still talk about him today, but we
Yeah.
talked about him what was 38 years ago. And I did some work with Tony. I did some, not any face-to-face stuff, but stuff with his team. I got to spend time at his events and staff stuff at his events. I walked on a bunch of hot coals. I traveled across the world listening to his principles. And that started me on the journey. You mentioned automotive. I think that what happened was I had been in automotive for many years. I had been a salesman. I worked my way up to manager, and I always felt that I was a really good trainer. And I actually got out of working at automotive dealerships after being a general manager and then deciding that I wanted to be a trainer of salespeople, not just on sales, but personal development, how to be better at home and in the workplace. And I made a decision to make that my career and really rocked and rolled, either working for other people like Toyota or Ford or Cadillac or Nissan or dealer groups all over the country. And I will tell you that I found that it was a niche for me. And I always felt that I wanted to spread out and do more, but I also felt that there was such a need within automotive for what I was bringing to the table, not just in closing, of course I did that, but also in personal development. So that was kind of the start for me of where I am today. And I
Love that.
loved sales training and I love coaching, but I really loved helping people be better people. And frankly, Curtis, I think it's because of my background of being broken. I really wanted to help people in every area of their life.
I love that. Bart's been a speaker, keynote speaker at a couple of different events that I've co-hosted, and I just absolutely love the interaction and seeing how engaged and the audience just they're just captivated by every word you say. So I absolutely love that you're using that not just to sell people, but to help them with personal development and help them actually become better people. You're now offering a 12-week leadership boot camp. Can you kind of give us an overview of that and what?
Yeah, I will tell you that there's a secret to this, and I can't be shy about the secret. That I'm a person of faith, and I have for when I first got sober, I was not. About 10 years after that, I became that person of faith, and in that, I listened to the direction of where I was being guided by God, and I really believe He was telling me, "I want you to help people, whatever that means." So it started off in sales for sure. And yet, along the way, I really believed in many industries, especially automotive, because I had a history in automotive, that there was a weakness in businesses with leadership. And John Maxwell says that a business is only as strong as its leadership, as well as a family and a church or any organization. So I really studied leadership. What's leadership really mean? Well, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Leadership is getting people to follow one path, to be in unity, to come together for a greater cause. And it's a lot deeper than that, but I was enthralled by this author by the name of John C. Maxwell. John Maxwell, as you know, has written over 120 books. I was at a dealership one day, and one of the dealers, dealer owner principal, told me that he was going to go see John Maxwell in Texas. And I said, "Can I go?" He said, "No, you can't, but I heard he's got a coaching program." So within 12 hours, I found out about it. He indeed had a coaching program. And that coaching program I joined in 2013. I got certified in Orlando, Florida, and I deep dove into his principles. Now, I ended up becoming a mentor, becoming an executive director. And at first, Curtis, I would put it into my sales training, his principles of leadership into sales training. But then right around COVID time, man, it really hit me that if we look at managers, what's going on with them? And I realized that most managers, again, didn't know how to be a leader. So I flipped from just working with salespeople to universally working with managers. Managers that were, I don't know, if you put it into an avatar, were 25 to 55 years old, mostly male. It's a male dominated business. And maybe they struggled at home a little bit. Maybe they drank too much at home a little bit. Maybe they didn't talk to their wives real nice. I know that sounds really broad, but also maybe that they really didn't know how to be a good influence in the workplace. So there was this dynamic I looked at, and I thought, I asked myself a question: is there a need? And of course, the answer was absolutely. So I 100% went in and said, okay, how do I shift? How do I help these people be better men or women in their marriage? How do I help them if they have some abuse problems? Well, I've had abuse problems with drugs and alcohol, so I understood it. I believe that history of recovery helps me as a leadership coach.
Yep.
And I figured, where can I get content that just blows them away? And last year, which was our best year in business, I focused on one topic, and it's called developing the automotive leader, where I do these 12-week boot camps. They're intensive, man. It's an hour a week as group, but it's also an hour a week if they elect to do one-on-one. So I've got them for a little over 2 hours a week. It's about a 3-hour commitment for them every week for 12 weeks. And I have seen marriages saved. I've seen communication increase. I've seen leaders learn how to develop other leaders and not just be about being on the defensive and trying to save their job. So it's God guided, frankly. It's God, infused, frankly. It doesn't mean I sit there and talk about God for all the time we're together, but I know everything I'm doing has a source behind it that's a lot bigger than me.
I love that. And how many people are typically involved in one of these 12-week boot camps?
Well, that's a great question. Anywhere from 5 to 12 to 15. And usually what happens, it's really fun, man. I mean, it's what I have never had a job I loved more. And what happens is, yes, we have a reading. In this case, sometimes we study leadership gold. Sometimes we study John Maxwell's Developing the Leader Within You. Sometimes it's Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. There's a number of Maxwell articles. Sometimes it's my own book called Keep the Change, depending on the topic. My book,
Copy it right here.
My book is the 12 Steps of Recovery, which frankly, I think are incredible leadership tools. And someday we'll talk maybe deeper about that, but it could be all of them together, but they have some homework to do. And that kind of gets them to go to work. It's not a book study, it's a conversation. So when they come in, let's say the topic is priority management. We talk about that in their role. Let's say it's a used car manager. Hey, John, you're a used car manager. Where has priority management been a big deal for you? Hey, Bobby, you're a new car manager. Where have you struggled with time management? And another thing we talk about is behavior, understanding the personalities of our people and ourselves. So to give you an idea, every boot camp starts with a DISC behavior assessment. And everybody in the room probably knows who and what DISC is. It's a personality assessment. But where I find DISC is so powerful is it allows us to pull off the covers of ourselves. On page
Yeah,
8 on our DISC assessment, there's a part in there and says, this is how you communicate with me. This is how you don't communicate with me. So you could literally give it to your spouse and say, "There, here, read this. This is how you talk to me." It's phenomenal. So we're teaching folks how to really understand self, how to tell other people about self, and we're teaching folks how to understand the people that follow us, that lead us, and that we work and live side by side with. It's really, really cool. So again, not a book study, but whatever we're studying, we put it into the context of the role that they play. So every week we role play and practice that. My job is to facilitate so they start thinking about how they can actualize what they're picking up in anything they're studying. It's really powerful. It's
perfect.
changing lives. I'm just blown away. A guy told me, I'll just tell you this quick, but a manager who is $1 million a year guy. And he told me last week, he said, I got to tell you, Bart, my marriage is better since I went through the boot camp. And I had tears in my eyes
That's
because
awesome.
if that's what we did, man, we created something really powerfully.
I was just going to ask you to share a success story of a past participant in the boot camp, but that's a real good one right there.
You know what's interesting, man, is you never know. Because if you know how it is, sometimes a manager might say, or a owner of a dealership or a business. I've done it for Chick-fil-A, construction companies as well. But sometimes the owner might say, "I want you to go through this." In fact, funny thing is, last year the general manager said, "I'm going to send 10 of my people through your boot camp." He said, "Usually I give them Rolex watches for Christmas or something of that sort, or a bottle of Crown Royal." I know that's a little different than a Rolex watch. He said, "This year I'm giving them leadership training." So you can only guess that when they walked in, they had scowls on their face because they didn't get their Crown Royal or their Rolex, and they're
Yeah,
going through a 12-week boot camp. But every one of them, he told me, I bet I'll probably get one or two of them that'll buy in. Every one except one bought in. And the relationships we developed and the growth I saw in those people, I'm so proud of them. It's like anything else, man. I can tell somebody to do it, but the success stories, every single one of them, are all because in their heart, the person taking going through the boot camp bought in. When they buy in, that's when incredible stuff happens. Same thing in recovery.
yep,
If somebody has got a recovery problem, they're an addict, and they don't want to buy in to what it takes to get sober, they're not going to get it. But if they do, it's amazing what can happen, right?
absolutely. And I wanted to mention too, you mentioned your book, but we did a review. I've been through your book over and over and over again, not because I was trying to deal with some kind of an addiction, but because I was doing a review of it in our magazine, Newswire magazine, and
It's great too.
I,
Thank you for that. I was
I
so
read through the
impressed.
absolutely. I read through it the first time, just get an overview so I could do a book review or decide whether or not we were going to review it, and then read through it over and over again as we were just studying, trying to make sure we pulled out all the correct highlights and stuff. But that's something that I will read again. The review's already done, but I have recommended that keep the change using the 12 steps to become a better leader in every area of life because it's
Yeah,
truly about helping people become better leaders and become better
yeah,
people.
so true. I am so blessed. I have an incredible life. I get emotional about it. I have the woman of my dreams. We've been married 8.5 years. She's a superstar in life. She's an incredible human. Between the two of us, we have 10 kids and 12 grandkids, right?
Wow.
I mean, talk about grace. Me, you got to be kidding. I helped birth four of them and indirectly helped birth four of those grandkids. Indirectly, right there. My kids' kids, and she did the rest. And yet, what I know about our life together is if I had planned it out 10 years, 20 years, I couldn't have seen it this amazing. We also, my wife and I, are co ministry leaders of a Celebrate Recovery. Now, Celebrate Recovery is a 12-step recovery program I mentioned in the book a lot that is Christian based. And it uses biblical principles instead of a quote unquote higher power. And we started it 2 years ago. We started in our living room, actually 3 years ago. And 2 years ago, we started in the church. And we've had really powerful, powerful stories of growth and recovery and life. Again, I always knew I was going to be associated with recovery, but what I'm so blown away in terms of leaders and servants and followers, what I'm so blown away about is it takes a great follower, a great leader has to be a great follower first, right? A great leader has to be a servant first. And if you're a leader of a nonprofit and you or a church, for instance, and you're not paying your people and they follow you, you're a great leader. And that's the team I have in my Celebrate Recovery. We have about 15 of them that just love the cause. They're
That's awesome.
humble, they're hungry for recovery for other people. They're emotionally intelligent the way they communicate. And it's so fun to watch it because they're not getting paid. They're doing it for the love of Jesus and the love of recovery. It's really powerful stuff.
I love that. And what's your advice for somebody who's, or for any individual who's struggling to find their passion or purpose?
Boy, isn't that a great question? I believe there's what I call the rules of transformation and the rules for change. The reason the book's called Keep the Change, by the way, is because I changed, but I kept the change. I was an addict who didn't use ever again. I had other addictions. You can read a little bit about it in the book. And I had struggles with different addictions, but today I've got freedom from all of that. I finally kept the change. So when I look at how does somebody find who they are, I think the number one thing, I think again, there's what I call these four rules for change. And that is ask yourself this question. Number one, where am I? Who am I? I think that's a great question because a lot of people don't know where they are emotionally, spiritually, financially. Do an inventory of yourself. Pay attention to your thoughts. I was paying attention to my thoughts last week and I thought, I'm thinking that. And it was really, as much as I do this, Curtis, it blew me away. Then I'm thinking that. And I had to go, no, and change the pattern. But paying attention, who am I and where am I? We have to know that. Really know ourselves deeply. One way to do that is with a behavior assessment. Absolutely. Another way is to get a therapist. Absolutely. Another way is a 12-step program to really come clean. Absolutely. See, you and I can't grow if we don't know ourselves. We got to know ourselves to grow ourselves, right? So that's number one. Who am I? Where am I? The next part is this. Once we know that, we have to ask ourselves this question. What am I doing to sabotage myself? Whatever that means. And I know for me, I had low self-esteem for a long time. And if you rated it on a scale of 1 to 10, I was probably a 2 or 3. I could never have success like at a
Yeah.
4 or 5 or 6 because I kept sabotaging myself. And knowing myself allowed me to realize, okay, I'm beating myself up, or I'm discounting myself, or I'm asking stupid questions like, why am I so stupid? Tony Robbins says, if you ask stupid questions, you're going to get what?
Stupid answers. Yep.
Stupid answers. Amen. So we have to ask better questions to get better answers. That's part of one and what we'll call two. The next part, though, is where do I want to be and who do I want to be? Now, I believe that God designed us. And in Romans 12, it talks about don't be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's my life scripture. But he also talks in Romans 12 about if you have a strength of prayer, run with it. If you're an encourager, run with it. Whatever you find that you have a strength and you're good at it and you love to do it, run. Run toward it. Do it. Steve Jobs said, don't do things you don't want to do because if you do something you don't love and it gets hard, you're going to bail. If you love something and it gets hard, you're going to stick with it. Why? Because you love it.
Yep.
So, who are you? Where are you? Is a lot about doing your own inventory. What am I great at? What do I love to do? And get clear with that. And then the fourth one is why do I want what I want? And when you and I know our why, and we can walk to the why, the how shows up. So those four questions: where am I? Who am I? Self-awareness. What am I doing to sabotage? Self-awareness. Number three, what do I want? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Really paving the way, putting it in paper, seeing ourselves the way we want to be. And then why do I want that? And when you and I get clear, the why will take us through the storm. That, I believe, is a critical piece for somebody who's lost. Again, Tony Robbins says there's no such thing as lazy people. There's just impotent goals. So if you and I feel lazy, stop, drop, pray, whatever you do, I pray. God, reveal to me where you need me, but also reveal to me where can I make the biggest impact here? Where can I make a difference on this planet? I have a word this year. My word is develop. My whole thing is develop my relationship with my wife. We have a great one, but I want to develop it to the next level. Develop my friendships with people like you, really tight friendships. Develop my business so that I can help people in business develop leaders. So everything in my life is develop my health, develop my finances, develop my image, whatever that means. But I want to develop myself at a whole different level. So that's my key word this year.
When, we go to these meetings or, we're at a conference or event or whatever, and people are just drawn to try to, you see, when you get done speaking, people are swarming around you trying to figure out how to connect. How do you help leaders prepare for and overcome obstacles?
Oh my gosh, we're all going to have obstacles, man, right? We are. But I think there's a part of that. I think we can overcome obstacles if not only do we love what we're doing, we talked about that, but I think there's a more important piece. And the more important piece is how do we love ourselves? Levi Lusko, the pastor, says that 90% of the people have low self-esteem. Matthew Maltz said that we cannot exceed our own level of self-belief. So I think a huge part, remember we said earlier, you can't go unless you grow. I think a huge part of you and I's life that we exist in is spend time to really learn to love ourselves. That means, again, pay attention to our thinking, but also what are we saying to ourselves? Yes. But are we affirming the positive? I am I am powerful. I'm a leader. I'm a developer of men and women. I'm a great husband. I'm a great father. And really affirm those things we want. Now, when obstacles hit, and they are going to hit, because we're so solid in who we are, we're going to search for things that allow us to overcome the obstacles. Now, I get it. Not everyone who listens to your show has the same belief systems I do. But I do believe this. No, even Lone Ranger believed in something, right? He had Tonto. We all need something. And when obstacles hit, have accountability partners. When obstacles hit, get on your knees. For me, I talk about that a lot and keep the change. I pray ceaselessly. Why? Dude, I can't do this on my own. Everything that's happened to me is by the grace of God. So when I have obstacles or I get off kilter or funky, stop. God, help me. Sometimes that's the only prayer I've got in front of me. That's the only I can think about. God, help me. And in that relationship with Him, I'm guided to the solution. But I've got to stop and I've got to drop and I've got to pay attention. No doubt about it. My relationship spiritually has changed my life. I'm who I am today by the fact of Him being by my side. And I've got relationships with my kids today, with my wife today, with my business people today, all because of that.
I love that. I love the 4 principles that you shared about knowing yourself. What would be your key piece of advice for our viewers, especially those in the 24 to or 25 to 48 age group who are aspiring leaders and looking to climb the leadership ladder?
Oh my gosh. Here's the deal. Be a constant grower and a constant studier. Right, Curtis? Right, man? I mean, if you look around me, you see a few books. I'm reading 4 of them right now. And I don't read them all at the same time. I read a chapter and then a chapter and a chapter, but I know I don't know anything and I love to learn and grow. I hated to learn and grow in high school. I have a son, Tyler, who got lousy grades in high school. Today, he's one of the wisest men I know because he studies all the time. He's an entrepreneur of 2 different businesses. His wife owns a couple businesses. They have a couple kids. I mean, they're rolling, and he'll give me all this wisdom because he's always filling his brain with information. And because of that, I'd reach for him and his wisdom many times more than somebody that's got a college degree from XYZ because he's been through it, he knows it, and he's always studying his craft. And he's specialized in his knowledge. He studies what he needs to study. And because of that, he's an expert. And because of that, his business is getting lifted up. And if he isn't an expert in something, maybe in terms of connecting with his people, he needs some help with, then he studies what's it mean? How do I connect with people? You and I get whether it's a podcast, a TV show, a book, whether it's a course. In today's world, if you're not finding information, you've got blinders on, you're not looking for it. You can get anything you want, anytime you want it,
Yep.
24/7, right?
We've got the
Yep.
sum of all human knowledge in our pocket right now. If you can't find an answer to something, that's your own fault.
Yeah. Especially with AI, right?
Yep.
And it's so true, man. It's scary, and yet it's there for us.
Yep.
And I think that's what's so powerful.
Finally, Bart, how can people learn more about your programs and get involved with your leadership training?
Oh, great question. For one thing, you can go to my website, bartnollenberger.com. You can get a hold of me at bartn17 at gmail, and I can send you some information on it. You can, I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. And I also do what I would call lunch and learns, free mastermind sessions for groups where I walk through for 45 minutes the different principles of what I teach on. Also, I have another website, got a few of them. This one, what you might want to write down, it's a long one, johnmaxwellgroup.com, johnmaxwellgroup.com/Bart Nollenberger. And it shows me, and it shows you and me all the different tools that I have available through being part of the Maxwell leadership team. And I'm just so honored to be part of that team and with the quality of people that are part of that team. And it's just some great information. You'll see on there different workshops we do. You can see on there different tools like DISC or what's called the leadership game, or I'll Lift the Lead, which is an event that I put on with various speakers, including Ryan Leaf and a number of others. So all that information is on there on that website, and you can reach me at bartnollenberger.com as well.
Awesome. And be sure to follow Bart on social media if you are not already. Look him up, Bart Nollenberger. He's on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the major platforms. Man, it was such an honor to have you on the show again today, and looking forward to grabbing lunch again with you next time we're at an event.
Yeah, no doubt. And Curtis, I so admire what you're doing, man. If you guys, Curtis is part of my team. I'm just telling you, he hasn't. He's done some things for me recently, and I told him 2 days ago, and we're going to meet up on Monday. Dude, we need to sit down. I need your help. He is brilliant. His work ethic is second to none. And besides being brilliant in his work ethic, he's got a soul. He's got character, and he's just an incredible person. So if you're looking for somebody like that, I get to go first. But if you're looking for that guy that'll build your business, dude, you got to look Curtis up for sure. Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate you, brother. Love you, man.
Love you, man. God bless you.